if you can learn how to create like your online virtual product and even make money online right now, then I'd love to help you through that journey as well.
The staff from Speakers Institute, you guys have been really supportive and really, really lovely and encouraging. But to everybody else, for all of your honesty and your courage for stepping up here and just giving all, because I've learned so much from every single one of you, and it's just been really, really good.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for little kids and and it was astounding. It blew my mind. It was beyond my expectations. And thank you, Kate, for the feedback today. That was brilliant. And it's given me the confidence to back myself, because I didn't have that before. Because, you know, when you leave for a while and you come back, it's all a bit dodgy. So thank you.
Absolutely awesome. I've learned a hell of a lot today, and I really feel like we're all improving. So thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
I wish everyone all the best on the course. I think it was a wonderful course. And Sam, you've created congratulate the people you've got working and wouldn't be that great, wonderful resource. And I congratulate you. It's excellent.
Sam and the team, so much for everything you've done. But I'd really like to thank everybody so much from all of you. Exhilarating. I said for each and every, just such a short time. So thank you all very, very much.
I've ever been doing course over $350,000 in my. This was worth every cent. I'm very, very impressed with the level of knowledge of, and they just kept off nugget. It was worth every minute as well. So thanks.
Hi guys, I just wanted to say on shops in the world. So investing in this course is really about looking to the future. So long-term, professionally put together recommendations all round.
Transformational. The reason I say that, initially I was not sure what is happening. There is a lot of things which I need to do and my fellow participants need to do within a very specified period of time. And that is challenging my ego, that is challenging my comfort zone. And as I trusted the process more and more, it became wonderful. You know, I took personal coaching also from Sam, thanks to him.
I was reading in your questionnaire and you wrote, become the best speaker in the world in cultivating epic sales. I like epic sales. You are actually a speaker. Put on your social media, I am a speaker. And the more that you own that, the more then the market will be really owning it even more. You've got a powerful message. This message will go global. Really looking forward to making this more of a household name for salespeople out there.
Where he showed me how to, when you are conversing with one person. So that was phenomenal. And
Hey guys, Sam Cawthorn here, CEO and founder of Speakers TV. Lean in where you can, give us any level of feedback, and we are really excited. And don't forget the yet to come.
For around a decade, I ran really big sales companies, and we taught our salespeople all around communication, how to read customers and customer experience. So for me, I was very good at influencing people and showing them what to do, but there was a missing link for me. I wanted to be able to influence more people. I've always been familiar with the stage, very good at inspiration, but getting on stage and actually influencing more people, challenging for me. And that's when they allowed me to build my image. They showed me strategies and gave me the right tools to A, make me more comfortable to be on stage, and B, to craft my message, humour. And I've made a massive shift in the way I now do business and influence people, and it's not work on my inner network. The ability and the confidence in front of thousands of people and deliver the message that I know people need to hear. So now I'm in a position where I can be around the globe and help others of standing on stage and message and influencing more people. It's probably one of the best communication. Not only does it teach people how to be more influential and really hone in on that craft, it allows people like me who are in that professional industry and entrepreneur to take it to the next level, consulting to now coaching and influencing many people at once.
Hey guys, Sam Cawthorn here, CEO of Speakers TV, and wherever you are in the world, we're so glad that you've tuned in to this episode here on Thursday. We have brought to you some of the best speakers in the world, and I'm super excited that you made the decision to tune in. And in this episode, we've actually brought to you some of the best speakers in the world to really help you to learn this as your powerful instrument to get your voice out. Don't know what your message is, then you have tuned in to the. And so here at Speakers TV, where we've got an amazing collection of testimonials of people sharing their best. Know that you value from this episode. Welcome to Speakers TV. The very first conversation we have here is actually from one of my mentors. As I mentioned earlier on, it was around 9.5, close to 10 years ago when Kate and I, we moved from Tasmania. Now, there was really three main reasons why we moved, but one of the most important reasons is because I recently was signed
by pretty much now the largest agency for professional speakers in the world. At the time it was called O2 Speakers. And Julie at the time was overseeing that. And so Julie Winterbottom, which was her first before she got married, she's now Julie Masters. And since then, Julie and her team really coached me and helped me to get into the international speaking industry. They also really did teach me a lot about how to keep the attention span, 18,000 people, which is my largest event, but also how to craft like an outstanding presentation, or maybe even how to be that influencer online. And, a number of years ago, Julie then moved on from that agency, and now she runs her own enterprise. She now runs one of the hottest podcasts in Australia, if not the world at the moment, when it does come to influencers. Write this down. Her podcast is called Inside Influence. And I'm super excited about today's very first conversation here, which will really help us to get in how we can all become influencers in tomorrow's. Also, very, very exciting as well to have you here. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Julie Masters. Can I first of all ask, obviously this is your second child, I believe.
He is, yes.
He is, yes.
He is.
Oh, very good.
He is. I have a 2.5-year-old at home at the moment. And I was just there because I can remember that first conversation that you and I had. I remember very enthusiastic, very hungry speaker. And we met, and I can remember exactly the coffee shop we met in. And you said to me, "What have I got to do?" And I said, "Well, firstly, you've got to move to Sydney." And then I thought, I'll never see him again. Enough. I was literally no time at all. It was like 2 months later, up again. And he's
moved to the same suburb.
No, well, that's what I was about to say. Not only, he's like, "Yeah, I've moved to Sydney." I'm like, oh, hi, okay, good. Where are you? He's like, "Oh, I'm just down the road from your office." I'm like, "Oh, all right then. I guess we'd better get going then." Huh? You know, talk about doing what it takes. And that's not easy with a young family of 3 either. So that
is kudos to Kate, more like applause.
Kudos to Kate.
So Julie, we can notice an accent. Tell us a little bit more about in Australia for and why you came initially. Tell us the background of your story.
I came probably just under 20 years ago. And I arrived with a backpack, and I nights, and a cast member. Second bit didn't happen. And I can remember getting off the plane in Sydney. I remember getting off the plane, getting straight onto a train and coming out and circular quay and just thinking, "Oh my God, do people live here? Like, is this a thing?" And then getting on a ferry and having the same kind of, is this people's commute? I just come from London being like this, squash in a freezing cold tube or someone, and you're so squashed you can't even turn around to see who it is. You know, this beauty and the Harbour Bridge and then getting, literally within that an hour, thinking I'm on to LA. And I just like,
wow.
Yeah. And so with a friend in Manly and everybody, and they were all getting waitress. Got a waitressing job. Was with the first time while I get my visa. I met Leanne, who went on to be my business partner, And we first met, and she needed a PA. And she had this...
How long ago, sorry?
20 years ago now.
Well.
And so she was in a house, and her office was in the basement of her house at that time.
Sorry, just very quickly, her name is Leanne Christie. Leanne Christie is basically one of the forefathers of the speaking industry. And, you know, just a total master maverick.
No, absolutely. She is one of the time, but founding pillars of the speaking, and also from a global contribution, and especially on the ethics collaboration side of things. Mm. So I didn't know that at the basement with this lady, and she said to me, coffee, and I said, visa. She's like, okay, so what do you need to get a visa? And I said, I need to earn this much and need this much of a commitment from you. And more than anybody else, I was like, nope. Have you? Because it was set, you know, helping her sell speakers. She was like, have you ever sold a speaker before? Nope. Do you know anybody in Australia? Nope. She's like, and you want to get paid how much? Wasn't a lot. Sounds very little. She went away and she came back. I think I should give you a job. He really does.
Story about it. I love it. It's great.
But I'm going to give you a job. You have paperwork. I want to hear the word all that yourself. We started in the business from back at that, and began for me. And the business went 5 years later. There's another swip, but we decided to launch together what was then O2 Speakers, which was the first speaker management company in Asia Pacific at that point. Probably one of only 2 or 3 in the world at that point. And that then went on, probably about 5 years after that, to become Ode. And so she and I ran Ode, and we were business partners through that whole time. And she still runs Ode to this day, and it's done incredible things
globally now,
all around the world.
By the way, guys, just very quickly, can I please encourage you all to online all throughout this event, as you can see there. So it's hashtag STConf19. And so if you know, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever it is, let's get the message out there, which would be really cool. So Julia, and you then obviously had a baby and launched. So after managing speakers for like 10 for your game, one of the best in the world, I believe it matters. You then made the transition to now, instead of being the back end watching speakers, you thought, wait a sec. Now you've got this insight that I don't think anyone else in the world would have. You've seen these speakers and you literally train them how to get into the sphere of the influencing world from a speaker point of view. So you had this blueprint that really no one else had access to. Because it wasn't just one, you launched. And from partnering with, suddenly now they're in the echelon of professional insight. So it was a total to then as saying, hey guys, I've got the tools of how to influence others. Is that a...
It's really fascinating to explain that, because it sounds flip. It didn't was when this came into being was to amplify game-changing ideas and game-changing people. That was the whole reason, like the mantra of the business from the I remember sitting in the kitchen table writing the mission statement of the business 15 years ago, however long, you know, and the whole ethos at the right time, when delivered authentically, has the pain. And that's what started the business. And what I do now just feels to me. You know, I have always enjoyed people with incredible ideas. I have always breaking down ideas, back together, amplifying them, figuring out the best way to take them to market, the best way to get them the furthest reach possible. And so now I do exactly the same thing, but so I still collaborate with influencers globally through the podcast, and that is really just a mouthpiece, a platform to give other people's ideas.
Tell us a little bit more. Why did you start that podcast? And fastest growing moment, conversations, great way to do it in people's commute. Why was it a podcast? Why not like a TV show or this or that? Like, why initially a
Why
podcast?
a podcast? Letter.
Okay.
I decided I was going to start a newsletter. I had my daughter. I was missing having these with people all over the world, like global level conversations. And I thought, right, I'm going to do a newsletter. And I went out for dinner with a lady who used to work for me, works for me in various capacities, Lauren.
Lauren, yeah.
Lauren and I went out for dinner, and she'd worked with me for many years. And I said to her, I'm going to do a newsletter. I'm going to put it out there. I feel like the world of influence has changed a lot since I first started out. I feel like there's this new breed of influencers out there. There's these new tools. And I want to do a newsletter on this new age of influence, what it looks like now. Just like a 20-year-old can. She looked at me and she was like, why don't you do a podcast? Oh, because that sounds like a lot of work, a lot of tech, a lot of that. And she said these immortal words. She said, how about if I did it with you? She said, I'll do it with you.
Wow.
Let's do it together. And she worked on that podcast with me, launching that podcast for the first 18 months of its being for free to see it out there. She's an incredible human being. And so it came through because I missed having that level of conversation with people. Selfishly, I missed a management company. You have a reason to call people. A book, someone does something amazing, call them. Hi, I'm a management company I want to talk to. And very selfishly, I love people that I find amazing. So I missed having a reason. I missed long form. You know, they're great and they have their place. But I'm a fan of the long form. And so I missed long form conversation. So you take that and then you add in Lauren, someone who was willing to support it getting out there, and that's how the podcast. But I would never, and this is important, I would probably never have pressed go on that podcast. Important is because part of all of us that doesn't want to press go, right? Like we can on this thing, people, and that's another thing worth saying. I never made it. And I was that bad. You know, the art of question to itself. And so was getting these first, I'd probably done 20 by that point, but only 8. And she said, right, I'm gone.
Press go.
Just press go. Yeah, and I remember the cafe. I remember sitting there. I had everything ready to go and knowing myself that I didn't have made that commitment to her, I probably, no voice would have found a reason not perfect. I wasn't perfect. Wasn't good enough yet. And I think that's really important. Know that you have that voice in yourself, then you can be doing people around you who in that voice. So
it's interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen that. There's a YouTube video that's been posted on social years about this one lone at like a rave party, and then the very first dancers with them, entire field of then dancers, then
follower if you want to.
That's it. Yeah, that's so true. You know, like who is your buddy? It's actually going to believe in you. It's going to cheer you on, that tribe of people around you. So it sounds like Lauren was your very first one. Obviously, then you launched it, and did you get that you would? Because today, a couple of years, like so many people, we're talking about the top influencers, HR managers, they're the people that are now podcast perspective. And so, you're now influencers. Ordinary. It took a while to get that level of participating the next podcast out, and what was it like you when you feel people here they're scared to press go, that only 3 people are going to listen, their brother, their sister and their mum?
I'm laughing because I don't think my mum even listened. And she did not. What happened? Nothing happened to first start something, right? Nothing happened. That it really, the podcast cost me money to produce. We're there, I'll be at probably a year. So about sudden whoosh of any beginnings, it was do it.
Very good.
Show up every 2 weeks, and that's not always easy when you're pregnant. Saying yesterday when we were on the plane till September, it's not easy, and it's not easy to show up. That's what it was about. It was about the consistency of it. It was about the skills of it. I was going to see what happened. Did a 6-month thing, putting together, gave sessions, and nothing happened, and that would have been just fine, absolutely fine with me. So, cart before they'll say, what were the results? There are no results. You're hoping for results. You'll get disheartened very quickly. It's not about that. You stick with it. Usually about the 18-month mark in my experience over the years for speakers, for influencers, for anybody. 18 months is when you'll see results. And that's the honest truth. It'll take you 6 months to get going. It'll take 6 months for anybody else to pay any attention, and it'll take another 6 months for the results of that attention to come back round to you. 18 months. So yeah, if you're hoping to get a round of applause the first time you press go, I think probably I was lucky in that sense. I didn't have that expectation long. So, you know, you remove that
so
expectation.
Yeah.
You have a lot more freedom with what you do.
You know, you guys have heard me talk a lot about if you're faithful with the small, the big will come. And it was very similar with these two elements, you know, consistency and then showing up. And so all throughout that first 18 months for you there had to be times where you might think, oh, look, too hard, I'm going to give up. How did you navigate that voice?
Oh, so many times. So many times. And I think it comes back to that mastery piece again. You don't get mastery unless you face up to the fact that you suck on some level, in some way, at some things. You know, you don't get mastery unless you face up to that fact. And, you know, I had to face up to that fact that I'm really good at some things. This I was not good at yet. Asking an elegant question I was not good at yet. Pacing. I remember the first few that I did, you know, I would just let someone talk endlessly, and then it'd be 40 minutes in, and I'd think, we've only had one question. I don't know how to interrupt. And so, you know, the whole thing was a new experience for me. And again, we were talking yesterday about how many times you get knocked back, how many times people said no to coming on the podcast. It happens less frequently now, but it happened a lot in the beginning. How many times people just didn't show up. There was one we were talking about who was a hero of mine, and my daughter was sick, and I had booked a hotel room to be able to do this interview.
Amazing story.
Booked a hotel room, paid for a hotel room, got up at 4 a.m. to be able to do a call live with, I think it was Boston. And I had followed this program, and I still think he's incredible at what he does. But he showed up, and he was distracted. I got 18 minutes. And I was so flummoxed that I fudged that interview completely. I got off that call, and I just burst into tears. It's like, what am I doing? My family's at home. You know what? Nobody cares. What's the point? That voice. And there's been a number of those times. Now it's easier because now I get feedback more regularly. So now if I'm having a moment of, it's too much, it's one extra thing, it doesn't pay the bills, now I get feedback from LinkedIn, I get feedback from Facebook, I get people emailing saying, you know, love that latest episode, made such a difference. Now it's easier to take the knocks because you also get a little bit of the feedback. But in the beginnings, it's really tough because you're just taking the knocks. So yes, there were those moments, and yet I'll come back again. If you are doing it for the applause, you will not last long. You do it for the consistency. You do it for the mastery. You do it for the moment in yourself where you have to show up and be seen and have your voice be heard and be conscious about the words that come out of your mouth. You do it for those reasons, and that's sustaining. But if you do it because it's going to be easy, and if you do it because people are going to applaud or like it, that's not sustaining. That fuel runs out very fast.
You know, that might even come into the next part is, you know, influence in general. Like, if someone was to ask you, decode influence, what would you say?
That's a massive question, Sam. Decode influence. All right, I'll give it a shot.
Oh, well, I look at you as like the influence queen. I do. You know, because you know what has worked with other people, and now you know, it's your name of your podcast.
But that's a good way of saying you should know the answer to this question.
Sorry, wasn't that obvious?
So, decode influence. All right, for me, there are 3 different types of influence.
Yeah.
And every single episode of the podcast, every part of the talks that I give, every element of the consulting projects that we do now focuses on one of these 3 elements. One is inside influence, which is what the podcast is named after. That is how you influence yourself. That is how you influence that voice inside your head that asks you, who do you think you are? That's how you influence your own triggers, become aware of your own triggers. That's how you perceive the world, how you filter what happens to you. So that's inside influence. And that seems like a segue away from the kind of influence that you're asking about. But I have seen way too many talented people, incredible ideas, brilliant businesses, brilliant speakers left on the sidelines because they haven't mastered that part. How to tame that inner voice, how to answer the question, who do you think you are?
Influence yourself, yeah.
Yeah. So to influence yourself, nothing else matters without that. So that's the first one. The second one is interpersonal influence. How you influence on a one-on-one level. How does someone feel after they've had an interaction with you? How are you able to listen consciously? How are you able to communicate consciously? How you're able to question critically? All of those things make an incredibly influential human being. And the myth with that is that influence is all about how, the words that we say and how we say them. And actually the most influential people I have ever met, that I have ever worked with, they say very little.
They what, sorry?
They say very little. I mean, you would have met half of them. Yeah, they say very little. Yet everything moves around them in an orbit, like gravity. That there's a sense of certainty about somebody that is able to influence on a one-on-one level without feeling like they have to push somebody with their words. So there's that one, interpersonal influence. And then the next one is industry influence, or how to influence at scale. Now, at scale can either be from a stage in front of thousands of people, or at scale can be how to get traction behind an idea on a global level, how to start a movement, how to run a political campaign. So that part is how to get an idea out there at scale. So if you're going to decode influence, I would decode it, first of all, into those three buckets.
Great.
To spend your time focusing on. And each one of those buckets can obviously be broken down further.
So Julie, you're obviously now not only doing your podcast, but also now you are a speaker. You're a keynoter now, which is amazing. I'll give you an idea. Just yesterday, Julie and I flew from Sydney down to Melbourne, spoke at the Crown Palladium Room, which I believe is one of the best venues in Australia, if not the best. That's where they have the Logies, the Brownlows, etc. I think you followed right after me. So
I literally did.
So it was Matt Church, it was me, then it was Julie. These are top, I feel honoured to share the stage with you two. And so what do you talk about in your keynote? And we'd love to have a little bit of an insight into, some of the tips and tricks and the structure of how you created that keynote. Because by the way, this keynote now is, being booked constantly, everywhere. So there's something that you've created in a keynote that's working. Can we know what it is? I'm like teach us how to do it. And
Okay.
What's the keynote about?
Well, the keynote is called The New Age of Influence. The New Age of Influence. New Age of Influence. And it is about how influence has shifted throughout my career. So first of all, it starts off with how influence itself has shifted. So influence used to be a top-down structure. It's now a bottom-down structure.
How do you mean? What does that mean?
So if you go back through the eons of time, influence used to look like that. They call it the power pyramid. It's been around since the 80s. It's not a new concept. At the top of the power pyramid, you have the monarchy, you have the government, you have the powers that be, you have the CEO. Underneath that, you have the military or the enforcers of that word. Underneath that, you have the media or the broadcasters of that word. And underneath that, you have you and me, everybody else on the planet. And since the digital age has come about, it's flipped for the first time in human history. And human beings are now the most influential force on the planet.
Come on, that's you.
So, you're looking at increasingly more so, you're looking at an age where human beings can now mobilize at scale more quickly, faster than often governments, military, and certainly the media. And we're seeing that more and more. One tweet can stop and start a revolution. One iPhone can stop and start a revolution. Now, again, I want to make the distinction, we're not talking about power here. Governments obviously have a lot of power. However, that trajectory, they'd be able to... that far before. So one, which is one social channels. Followers. Barack Obama has 90. Donald Trump has 60. And CNN has 40. So if he wanted to, he could start a conversation, engage, sell a product, get traction on an idea faster than CNN. And again, that's never happened before. Now you combine that, the speed and scale, with the fact that 96% now of every single thing you consume online, every single piece of information that influences you, and what you consume online now influences 93% of your buying decisions. 96% of it is what we would call in the marketing world unbranded. And unbranded is really just a fancy way of saying that it comes from a human being and not a brand. So 96% of our attention goes to human beings now and not brands. And yet we spend $50 billion a year on branding, advertising, and marketing. And, you know, there's this fantastic story that I tell, which is 100% true.
I'd like to.
Which is my mum. My mum's Northern English, and she rang me one day, and she was like, hey, up, love. You're right, darling. And I was like, what's up, Mum? And she said, well, I've just figured something out. I was like, what? She's like, what I do is, when I'm watching EastEnders, what I do is the ads come on, and then I pause it, and then I go and make a cup of tea, and then I come back, and then I press play, and then I fast forward all the ads. And my mum doesn't even have an email account. And, you know, again, the traditional view of marketing, the traditional view of influence, the traditional view of persuasion is threefold. It is you either outshout, as in outforce, somebody else. You get louder than everybody else in the room. It's called the gorilla effect. Just get bigger and louder than everybody else. And we do that from an advertising and a marketing standpoint as well. They literally turn up the volume of the ads. So you either outshout, you outspend, you throw more money at it than anybody else, or you out-interrupt. You interrupt more people doing more things than anybody else. Now I studied marketing. Every single marketing strategy, traditional marketing strategy, boils down to one of those three things. And we can't do that anymore. You can't, you know, my mum has figured out how to stop you shouting at her, interrupting her, and spending money to get her attention. If my mum, 70-year-old mother, has figured that out, then, you know, that traditional way of influencing people, it's gone. It's dead. And so what are we left with? If we're no longer left with those things, as companies, as individuals, people who are trying to get ideas out there in the world, we're now left with what I believe to be out-contributing. You can't outspend, you can't outshout, you can't interrupt, you need to out-contribute. You need to out-contribute everybody else in the marketplace.
So does that just then mean just posting more content?
No, it doesn't. It means becoming what I would call the primary translator.
Okay, like the commentator of an industry.
Yes, so to be a primary translator, so to be a primary translator of a topic, to be a primary translator of an industry, basically means that, which is what you do here today, is you go out onto the fringes. You go out to places where I neither have the time, nor the bandwidth, nor the experience to go. And you bring information back to me on a topic that I care about. In my language, in easy to digest bites. That's a primary translator. We have no shortage of information anymore. We have way too much like no one sat there going, I just wish I had more
information. Where can I get more information?
No, none of us are sat there wishing that. What we need are translators. This. The most precious currency you have now is your attention, and we could do a whole conversation not just on that. If you look at who you follow, who you take the time to read, whose podcasts you take the time to listen to, whose videos you always take the time to watch. There won't be many of them because our time is so limited. I guarantee you do it because they translate something important for you. It might be parenting, it might be leadership, it might be speaking. I think in the future we will be influenced by the translators, not the technicians. We have no shortage of technical information anymore.
Very good.
So to become the translator for your target market is the #1 tool of influence that I probably know of at the moment.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you've what we've just heard just then is part of your keynote and some of the things that obviously, you know, and I'm sure in the room just then, while she was talking, you could have heard a pin drop. We were anticipating every word that she was saying. Why she was not only informing us, but also persuading us, empowering us to think, wait a sec, what am I going to do about this? Now that I know this information, what's next for me? Which I really like. Tell me a little bit more about you know, other parts of your keynote that you deliver, and what's the reaction that you're now seeing from the marketplace after they hear some elements of your message. Yeah, like, you know, because even yesterday, I got 5 or 6 people say, hey, that was amazing, Sam, you inspired me. And I'm sure now people are now leaning into to say, tell me more, or, you know, what is working for you at the moment?
Later on is storytelling, which is something that you also are masterful at. I think that the storytelling piece is something that really seems to engage with people. I think we all struggle to tell our stories. We all struggle to construct a message in a way that's captivating or engaging. You know, if you run a business, you struggle to get anyone to open your emails or your newsletters. So I think that storytelling piece really resonates, and it should do, because the future belongs to the storytellers. In fact, I interviewed Ben Jones.
Yeah. And tell me more who he is.
Ben Jones. Ben Jones is the head of Unskippable Labs at YouTube. So basically the story of Unskippable Labs, you should watch some Unskippable Labs videos, by the way. They're only 3 minutes long. I think there's only 3 or 4 of them. Check them out. I sometimes play some of them as part of the keynote. And Unskippable Labs came about because Google figured out that although they have 5 billion hours of video uploaded to YouTube every single day, 5 billion hours, they had no idea what makes anybody skip. You know that skip button in the bottom right-hand corner that you can skip after 5 seconds? Yeah, and they're selling all this advertising. I skip everything. They're selling all this advertising to all these companies, all these brands, and the brands were asking them, you know, tell us how to make an ad for YouTube, because we have no idea. I don't know if you've noticed, but brands have no idea how to tell stories on these channels. And we have no idea what makes anyone skip or not skip a story. And so they set about Unskippable Labs. What makes something unskippable? And what they discovered was incredible. They discovered that the rawest of stories make the best stories. I'm going to paraphrase the whole thing for you there. The rawest stories make the best stories. The most highly produced ones gets people's attention, but has very little recall. So that's one of the things that they discovered. Wow. The other thing that they discovered that Ben talks about, and it's a particular podcast episode, you can go and find it if you want to hear the long form of this conversation. The other thing that they discovered was this thing that he talks about called the Netflix effect, which is, although there's a lot of talk now about our attention spans diminishing, you know, from 10 seconds down to 8 seconds, less than a goldfish now, there's a flip side to that, which is really fascinating, and that is our attention spans have diminished from an entry-level perspective. So I don't know you, I've never met you before, I've never heard from you. You do have a very limited amount of time to get my attention. He called it the Netflix effect because, you know, Netflix do the ads for the shows that they run. And those ads are very short, they're very punchy, they're very powerful, they get to the point very quickly, they tell compelling stories. But then, what's fascinating about Netflix is after they've got you in with that very short attention-grabbing piece, you will watch hours. Like you will literally, you will literally invest a weekend of your time not moving off the sofa, all of Game of Thrones. And so what does that say? Count attention span, but we'll sit there and we will watch a story for 48 hours. And so there's this really interesting split happening with storytelling now, where you've got you get me in, you give me a good enough reason why I should be there, and I will give you reams of my attention if you tell me a compelling enough story. So yeah, I think that there's a real shift happening in the marketplace around storytelling at the moment and what works and what doesn't work, and even massive companies like Google and YouTube are investing a lot of money trying to figure this out. So when you ask about feedback, a lot of the feedback from corporations comes in around storytelling. Feedback from individuals always comes in about, I put it in mainly female audience. I was doing this mainly female audience, and this is my own. This has nothing to do with the audience. This is totally my own inner dialogue, which I questioned and have now changed. I had this inner dialogue that serious business people, the type of people that I work with on a daily basis, CEOs, corporations, serious business people, they didn't want to talk about the inner influence stuff, like the inside influence stuff. They wanted to talk about stuff that had ROI, like how am I going to turn this into money? How am I going to get my audience's attention? Yep, how am I going to get them to go from attention to engagement to action? All of that. And so at the end of the keynote, I used to talk about consistency, which is showing up, focusing on becoming match fit, focusing on your mastery, blocking out the noise. That was the end of the keynote. And I got asked to do this primarily female audience, and I thought, okay, that doesn't feel quite right to me. I'm going to talk about what I actually want to talk about at the end of the keynote, what I actually think.
True to yourself, yeah.
Yeah, what I actually think makes a difference. And it's funny how that room gave me permission to do that. And that is certainty. And the difference between certainty and confidence. I spend an hour talking about the tools and the skills and the stats and the marketplace and tech and all of this stuff. And I know in and of myself that unless you're able to make that distinction between confidence and certainty, that you'll do nothing about any of it. And so anyway, I did this end piece between confidence and certainty, and that just went crazy. That one bit.
Wow.
Went absolutely crazy.
Can you just... we've got...
I'll be in a keynote, mention it in a video, you'll never hear me talk about it on the podcast. I hate the word itself. I really have a fundamental problem with. And I think it is because over the past 20 years, I have heard way, way too many people, brilliant, incredible people, kept on the sideline, stopped by a sentence that goes something like this: I will raise my hand, be heard, take to the stage, disagree, launch that podcast, do a video, write a blog, fill in the blank, when I feel more confident. And and it kills me, because I can promise you that confidence shows up when we show up. Confidence, it's the result, it's not the ingredient, it's the result of showing up. And it fascinates me because you watch small children. I watch my daughter, and she doesn't expect to be confident. She doesn't have that expectation. She goes in and she expects that she's going to have to do it over and over and over again, and then she'll start to feel confident. And we have those conversations. Do you feel confident? Oh, not quite yet. She doesn't expect to. And somehow, as we get older and we become adults, we suddenly seem to think that this confidence thing should show up before we do. Like that it's going to come in first. And it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Confidence is not reliable. Confidence is adrenaline. It comes and it goes. And if you focus on it, you will get derailed so quickly. You know, a better thing to focus on is certainty. To communicate with certainty, to speak with certainty. And to speak with certainty is a downward, I describe it as a downward sensation. Yeah.
That's even how you explained it.
Yeah. When you communicate with certainty, you own the ground that you stand on or sit on, in my case. You own your experience, you own your expertise. The essence of certainty is, with everything I have done, with everything I have learned, with every mistake that I have made, with all of my experiences to date, I give you the best of what I've got today. And if I change my mind tomorrow, if another piece of information comes to light, then I will change my mind, I will adapt. But today, I give you the best of what I have. Now that is certainty. And that's what I want. I want more people honing in on the part of them that can speak with certainty.
Come on, let's give her a hand. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. All right, close. Question for you to recharge your tank. You know, we all know that we've got a tank and you're always giving. You're giving in your personal life, your professional life, always giving. And ultimately, you need something to recharge that tank so you are operating from a place of overflowing. What do you do for you?
That's a really good question. Do you know, I can't answer it. I can't. This month has been the craziest month.
Yeah.
Everything just, you know.
You live next to the beach.
Well, no, we don't. Well,
or close to. Or, yeah, don't you?
Do you know, I'm being honest. At the moment, I'm asking myself that question. What do I do? What do I do to recharge? I mean, I can give you some answers. You know, I have incredible people around me. I have incredible friends around me. I'll watch a movie with my husband and my daughter. I will go for a walk. I can give you all of those answers. But the truth is, I haven't figured it out. I haven't, because my landscape keeps changing. And I think it does that for all of us, right? Yeah. What I used to do when it was just me versus what I do now that I've got a family, versus the energy that I have now that I'm pregnant, versus whatever energy I have when he arrives and I've got a newborn plus a business plus a podcast plus speaking. You know, it is a moving beast. And I think the best way that I can answer that is to say, I am trying to, on a regular basis, take time out to ask myself exactly that question. Given this landscape, what do I need? Because the last landscape has now changed. So I don't know. My last flight is in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time.
That's the Perth, isn't it? You and I in Perth?
No, we're in Perth, and then I've got another one after that.
Yeah, right.
And then I was just saying to Kate yesterday, then I'm hoping to sit down and ask myself exactly that question.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Incredible.
Thank you so much. You know, she came all the way. Come on, let's be up, Sam. Let's be up, Sam. She came all the way from Sydney to Melbourne straight.
Sam Cawthorn here, CEO and founder of Speakers Institute. If you give me 60 seconds of your time, I'll show you how to set up an online webinar in 48 hours while growing your authentic followers to tens of thousands, and then teach you how to package your IP so they buy your programs online using what we call influence. What this means is you talk to camera, share your value, and then stack your offerings and create urgency in a way that makes it so irresistible that they click the button and purchase your high ticket sale. Talk with any of our clients globally, and I promise you will not find anyone that does what we do. All you have to do is to create an online event, share your ideas, and then stack your offerings just like this. And here's the big secret. Everyone is online right now searching for people just like you to help them learn things that you already know. There are people doing it right now, but they probably don't know as much as you. So right now is your chance to learn how to sell online, and my influence on video formula is easy to use and foolproof for anyone to master. Just recently, I did a 1.5 hour video online to only 40 people, and at the end, 10 of them bought my $4,000 product, all by one click of the button. It was seamless. So influence irresistible. Learn my exact script so you can come across authentic and real, and create urgency so then they buy immediately. Then click on the link below and join my free masterclass.
share, I mean, how good the feeling was after completing the session, and I think the feedbacks were just too good. So I mean, that is forcing me to think beyond. I think it was pretty linear thinking earlier, and now it is pretty diversified. So that is very helpful.
Thank you, Charlene, Christiane, and Sam, for obviously the benefit and the inspiration you've given to so many of us, and to all the participants, because I think for me personally, this is the first time I've felt that I've been in such a safe space to be vulnerable and to make mistakes. Events in our life, possibly for the first time publicly, so that's just been a really huge thing. So thank you for everyone for opening up and for people to open up and be authentic.
I'd like to firstly acknowledge you, Sam. Thank you so much for instituting the Speakers Institute and all of the lovely people who've attended today. I think they've done an absolutely wonderful job. I think all of their stories are worthy of stage presence. I think you'll all go very far.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for 6 years, looking after little kids, and this is the first course I've ever done, and it was astounding. It blew my mind. It was beyond my expectations. And thank you, Kate, for the feedback today. That was brilliant, and it's given me the confidence to back myself, because I didn't have that before. Because you know, when you leave for a while and you come back, it's all a bit dodgy. So thank you.
And it was really an experience which I was looking for, to give that push, the last push which is needed, because I'm very low on executions. So your story, and should I very much fellow participants.
Thank you, everyone, and I want to thank you, Sam, Christiane, and Charlene inspired me to come, and her in particular, and got a lot out of it. So thank you, everyone, and thanks for all the lovely comments.
First of all, I would like to say thank you, massive thank you to every single one of you. It was a great company. Proximity is power. I'm overwhelmed with all the love and energy and everything else. I've learned so much. And by this sheer circumstances by now, that I'm sitting at home and I actually can do it. I'm blown away that I'm actually doing it. It's amazing.
And I really want to thank you, Sam, for this amazing course.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank every single one of you, especially you, Sam, and all of the mentors as well. There can be at times where we're alone. We think we're the only ones, we feel like we're the only ones going through that. And to share would be to burden each other. But in a space like this, it actually brings us closer together. So thank you very much for sharing all your stories, and thank you for the opportunity.
I'd actually just like to thank Sam and the team so much for everything you've done, but I'd really like to thank everybody else. I have learnt so much from all of you. It's just been so exhilarating. I'm so excited for each and every one of you, because the growth in such a short space of time has been phenomenal. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It has been absolutely awesome. I've learned a hell of a lot today, and I really feel like we're all improving. So thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
I wish everyone all the best on the course. I think it's a wonderful course. And Sam, you've created an amazing business. But I also want to congratulate the people you've got working underneath you, because it wouldn't be that great if you didn't have all this wonderful resource, and I congratulate them for supporting you. It's excellent.
Thank you very much. All the feedbacks were golden for me. I learned a lot. Plus, how I should not try to put all the information in those 6 minutes. I should let the audience absorb what I'm trying to convey. They should absorb my story, and so as the energy level should fluctuate properly at the right moment. So thank you very much for that.
So I want to say, look, I've forever been doing courses and programs. I've probably spent over $350,000 in my life. This was worth every cent. I'm very, very impressed with the level of knowledge of the coaches, and they just kept offering gold nugget after gold nugget. Definitely was worth every minute as well. Yeah, I really want to thank the coaches, and I've noticed a difference in everyone as well over the last couple of days as well. So thanks.
Guys, I just wanted to say my work relies on face-to-face workshops, speaking at conferences around the world. So investing in this course is really about looking to professionally put together course. So commendations all round to all of you.
To all the staff from Speakers Institute, you guys have been really supportive and really, really lovely and encouraging. But to everybody else, for all of your honesty and your courage for stepping up here and just giving all, because I've learned so much from every single one of you and it's just been really, really good. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Cawthorn and a long time ago I was one of the proteges. Now back then I had absolutely no idea where I was going to go. I was an expert in my field, but I was working very much in the corporate space. I also had no followers on any social media accounts. I had no email list. I had no people anywhere on a database that was out there in the public market. But I knew that I needed and wanted to get out, get online and make a difference to the world. And I knew that the only way I'd be able to do that is to go out and start speaking, putting myself out there as an individual. And it was really confronting because there's all these kind of things that we go through. Will people like me? Will people engage with me? Will anyone even care about what I have to say? Will people mock me? Will people criticize me? Will I be torn down by my competitors or trolls? So I had all of these worries, like everyone else does, not knowing where I was going to start. You know, do I start with the logo, the website, the message, the thing, the branding, the story? It's all very, very overwhelming. So I want to reassure you guys that I was absolutely there. After going on Sam's program, I have gone on to win multiple awards. I have now got over 20,000 students in 146 countries. I have been listed by the Huffington Post as one of the top 50 must-follow female entrepreneurs. I've published 12 books, 5 of which have gone to international #1 bestseller. I recently was headhunted by a university. Now in Australian history. And I have done all of this from working in the spare bedroom in my house. I now have a multi-million-dollar education company with children running around. And one of the things that I really want to make clear to other people is that everyone can do this. Every single person. I had no special starting point. I had no investors. I've never had anyone give me money. I absolutely have just started on the corner of a kitchen table with nothing but a dream, a drive, and an ambition. And that is the only thing you need to get.
Challenges and adversities are here to stay. Any business, any walk of life, whether you're a service provider, you're a housewife or a business person, you need to influence other people. If you are able to extract opportunity out of adversity, that's when you are ready to succeed.
You are possibly the most inspiring person I've ever met in my entire life.
There is nothing that I have Speakers Institute help you transform. Bootcamp then take you to a whole new level.
This is the Celebrity Authority Show. Please welcome your host, Sam Cawthorn.
I'm super excited today. We have Michael Myers here in the studio with us, direct from Alice Springs. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Sam.
Michael, really excited about this interview, and it's mainly because everyone has failures, but you say that failures are needed in order for you to find your success. Tell us a little bit more about what you mean by this.
A lot of people suffer from things in their life that they don't really anticipate, and then they don't want to get past because all of a sudden there's this mental barrier in front of them. They put it there themselves. They find it difficult to move on.
And so obviously then through these failures, if we learn how to overcome them,
we can actually find our true success in life. Is that right?
Yes, we can, but also expect more failures because we learn to advance from failure.
So, Michael, I'm really curious now to find out a little bit more about, who you are, and tell us more about maybe some failures that you've had throughout your journey to now truly believe in this amazing message.
Okay, some time ago, about 11 years ago now, I had a failure in my life. We were going along, we were a typical Australian family, 2 adults, 2 kids, a dog, all that sort of stuff.
And this is up in Alice Springs?
This was in Alice Springs, and we were living the dream, so to speak. We were progressing. We had plans to build a new house. We had a couple of kids in a good school. We had some dollars in the bank, had some investment property, and I made an investment decision which come unstuck really big time. It was a point where it was I entered a commodities market with knowledge that I didn't have, and when it came unstuck, I crashed and burned like you wouldn't believe. In the space of 4 weeks, I had accumulated $800,000 worth of debt, and I had nothing to show for it. That was when life really became challenging.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not for possibly what the reason you're thinking, because people tend to think that I'm a little bit flippant about money because I say, oh, it's only money. Yes, it was money. Yes, it's relevant. Yes, it's very serious. But it was the underlying trust that I had annihilated between my wife and myself. It actually, at the time, it took me 2 weeks to tell my wife what was going on.
And that's understandable. It's totally understandable.
It was like meltdown in the brain, and what do you do, and where do you turn, and how do you cope with this, and all the questions and all the turmoil. And the place that you get, the place that I went to at the particular time was, there was just no thought, and then there was just all these mixed emotions. It's just so hard to describe, and then primarily you're in such a vulnerable position, and it's like a tsunami. It's all your inner feelings, your innermost core is ripped out of you, it's torn out, you're totally exposed. Then all the emotions come rushing back in, and this is all happening in the space of nothingness. Once it happens, it hits you with such force that you go into total meltdown, and you sort of, everybody goes into some form of denial. How did this happen to me? You know how it happened. Why did this happen to me? You know why it happened, right? Am I going to get over it? You're going to get over it, but you've got to put yourself in that position.
But some people, though, don't always think, though, that they can get over it. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you just have to find out tunnels in. A lot of people end up in. It's a personal journey to then apply a thought. Bing, as we know, Newton's law, and that's how I applied it. For every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So this is what I did. This is where I came unstuck. Right, I know what the scenario is. So I use that as catalyst to move ahead. Went back years. There was tears. There was obviously tears. I explained. Oh, it gets worse. I explained to her that we had obviously a lot of emotion, a lot of tears, and a lot of things going on. I explained to her that even though we had lost money, we hadn't lost our money. She said, "Oh, that sounds really." It's something we'd accumulated. We'd accumulated for our retirement, for our kids' education, for what we wanted to do, how we wanted to progress in life. And when I got to that point, I said, "What I've done is taken that away, and we can rebuild that." I said, "But it sounds strange." I said, "You're going to have to trust me to do that again." Wow. And it was quite challenging for her at the time. She had, before we were together, had been through a relationship breakdown and a divorce. And she looked at it and she said, we were very fortunate because both Heather and myself, we married our own best friend. And it's a bond that you can't take away and you can't explain. But she actually held on to that and said, wow, you know, we got married, we're best friends, we've had 2 kids, we're still progressing, we can still progress. It's just a matter of finding the direction and setting a, maybe not such a rushed pace.
So then for people out there that are feeling this failure, and maybe they might even be as deep in the hole as maybe you have been in the past, what is a formula that these people here can think, yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe they can learn from your mistakes? Like, tell us a little bit more about how can they turn that failure or you know, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, to then start realising there is light and then getting through that?
Oh, that's a great question, Sam. Thank you. In the process of getting back on top, I developed a thing called the power process. Where I got to where we were, I basically use these, my hands. I'm a very physical, hands-on sort of bloke. And to do that, to get back to where we had to go, I had to do the same thing physically. So I said, well, these are my power. And as soon as that happened, that's where it came about. Right. So I developed a thing called the power principle. Anybody can use it. They can use it to focus. And it doesn't matter what their adversity is, it doesn't matter what their problem is. They can use it and they can do it at their own pace. They can do what they choose to do. They can choose to do nothing, or they can choose to go ahead. It's how they choose it.
So what is it? I'm curious.
My process is a 5-step process, okay. Right? It's perseverance, organisation, work, energy. Of all those, responsibility was the most important one to me because it's accountability. You're accountable for what you've done, what's happened, and where you're going. All the others are tied into getting the end result. But at the end, the responsibility and accountability ties it together to give you the focus and the momentum forward, basically.
Because it's easy to put the blame game on other people. It's easy to point the finger, but when you have that responsibility, would you agree there is more of a certainty and a confidence that, yes, I will get through it because of the power of the human mind. Is that right?
Yes, right. You take on responsibility. Somebody can take responsibility away from you. Somebody can produce a failure for you, an end result that you end up in is failure by design or failure by circumstance. Right, failure by design is when you walk into a situation, for instance, employment, and the company shuts its doors and sorry, you're unemployed, see you later. No redundancy pay, no holiday pay, sorry about your kids and your education and the car and the dog and the house and everything else. And then there's failure by circumstance, where the change in retail market forces a place to close. So you become redundant or become bankrupt as a result of a circumstance of events. That's very unfortunate. But if you stay in that position and you don't take your power back, somebody's taken that power from you, but it wasn't your doing. But you can take your power back and move on.
Great.
Yeah, there's going to be a few up. Last year, some of my failures, failure by circumstance last year, at the end of the last financial year, I closed down a business because it didn't hurt, but it hurt. That's wow, how did this happen? And knowing all the answers and knowing the circumstances, knowing the economic times in the country, and I thought, if we can survive, and in the process of coming back from 11 years ago, we've set up an infrastructure that we can bread and butter existence survive. Great, that's all we need. We don't do things for the money. Our kids are grown up and they've gone off and they're pushing. We do things to enjoy ourselves. Right. And I'm chosen to take up public speaking because I can help people with my message, get them across the line, face their demons, focus on their end result and move on.
And Michael, you certainly have a very powerful message that the world does need to hear. So thank you so much for coming in here to the Celebrity Authority Show. However, just before you head back through to Alice Springs, we have this challenge that we have at the end of each one of our interviews. And the challenge is 10 questions in 60-second challenge. So Michael Myers, do you accept the challenge?
I accept.
All right, Michael, your time starts now. Favourite colour?
Orange.
Orange. Favourite food?
Lemon meringue pie.
Ah, yeah, good Australian. Come on. Favourite celebrity?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, he's great. And then favourite actor?
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Two great classics. Favourite professional speaker?
Vin Jiang.
Yes, yeah.
Vinny Jiang, he's great. 25 years old, used magic, encompasses so much in his delivery.
Good Australian as well. Favourite book?
The Happiness Advantage.
Yeah, that's a great book. Favourite movie?
The Sting.
The Sting. Favourite city?
Coming from Alice Springs, if it has water, it's great.
Favourite drink?
Coke on the rocks.
Yes. Favourite pizza topping?
Ham and pineapple.
Ham and pineapple, there you go. And Michael, if you were to be an animal, which animal would you be?
It would have to be a big cat.
A big cat, why's that?
Because they're pretty cool, chilled, relaxed, and they can go like a rocket if they have to.
Oh, very good.
Thank you, Sam.
Very good, awesome.
Our next TENx speaker is committed to transforming lives through the power of research and innovative medical interventions in order to give hope to those who have lost hope. She's a medical research scientist who conducts clinical trials on children with rare diseases. As a keynote speaker, facilitator and leader, she advocates and creates awareness of clinical trials with the belief that successful medical intervention development isn't possible without successful clinical trials. Thus, it's a responsibility that we all share. Here to share her voice for the power of research, please welcome to the stage, Twinkle Bahaduri.
Thank you. Thank you. Every situation in life is temporary. They're not lasting. When life treats you good, enjoy it and live it fully. And when life isn't so good, just remember that this is temporary and that better days are yet to come. So who here knows what clinical trials is? And who has participated in research? Thank you. So if health is our greatest wealth, why is it that many often take it for granted? For centuries, people have been under the impression that if there is no treatment to a disease, there is no hope. As a medical research scientist, I can assure you this is no longer true. Research shows establish itself as the international hub for drug developments and clinical trials. So let me tell you about one of my little patients named Emma. This 5-year-old little girl suffered from a condition called juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which is caused by inflammation of the joints, resulting in excruciating pain. She could hardly walk from that door to here. It aches my heart to see her that way. Imagine what her family has to go through. And to make matters worse, the doctors have run out of all treatment options for her. Her parents literally pleaded to save their only child. So we enrolled her into one of our clinical trials with a new drug designed specifically to treat that condition. And after 8 months of being on the trial, she came in for a review. she came running to me in her pink little high heels and said, "Look, it's a miracle! I can play again!" Honestly, I felt. Then there was this other little boy, Joshua, with a different condition called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which some of you may know as DMD. Similar situation, we recruited him to another clinical trial, and after only 10 months, he enrolled himself into gymnastics. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the power of clinical trials. This is how we transform lives, and this is my passion. Now, my story isn't about just little kids. My message is about the power of the clinical trials and the impact it has on many alike. Lost hope. Clinical trials need you. So how did I get into this industry in the first place? Tracing back in 2009, I came from Singapore to pursue my Masters of Infectious Diseases degree and was taught under one of the finest leaders in medicine, Professor Barry Marshall. He made a groundbreaking research for discovering the causative agent of stomach ulcers called Helicobacter pylori. He did not only discover the bacteria, but also the antibiotics to treat it. But during those days, he could not find any human models to test and prove his theory. But because he had so much of convictions in his research, he drank a whole petri dish full of Helicobacter pylori, developed gastric ulcers in himself, and treated himself with the appropriate antibiotics. His theory was proven right, and all medical books had to be rewritten. His discovery and bravery, Nobel Prize in medicine, but also benefited millions and saved millions of lives. The day I found and I made a commitment to myself that this is how I want to contribute to the world through research. So what are clinical trials? See, there are more than 4,000 diseases out there with no medical interventions. And this is where clinical trials comes into play, where research investigations are carried out in volunteers who are willing to test new drug developments to find the safest control measures to treat diseases. But who here thinks that being in clinical trial is like being a lab rat? No. The medicines we acquire today are a result of past clinical trials that have gathered substantial data for regulatory authorities to approve and commercialize them. So clinical research is the key to finding new solutions, and it needs you. An outbreak of coronavirus sweeping across 59 nations, the World Health Organization has declared global health emergencies with over 84,473 cases. As of today, there is no stopping to this disease without a solid research breakthrough. New drugs have also transformed the lives of many. And in managing conditions such as peptic ulcers, epilepsies, rheumatoid arthritis, better and safer contraception these days, as well as nationwide screening programs for different types of cancers. Today, our DNAs are sequenced, our organs are but these advances have only been possible because of research, the process of discovery, innovation, and development. And in delivering these services in the best way possible, from cradle to grave. Without clinical research, there is no new treatment. Nothing better to offer to patients tomorrow than what we have today. Clinical research today are conducted as scientifically rigorous as possible, but also ethically in the best interests of the participants. Because we know we work with people with rights and dignity. Through research participation, it gives patients earlier access to new drug developments before it is. Now it is easy to think that research is something scientists do, something that happens in the laboratory. In short, something that others do. But the reality is quite different. Clinical research not only involves doctors, scientists, larger network of pharmaceutical corporations, legal and regulatory authorities, but also the most important member of our team, patients and their family members. Imagine what little Emma would have to go through today without clinical research. Imagine what impact would it have on her parents. That is why clinical research needs you. This is where you can help. Taking part in research as patients or healthy volunteers as controls can help to improve care, find new treatments in the future, as well as finding out more about yourself and the conditions you may have that you never knew existed. Many lives have been saved today in time because of incidental findings. There is a wealth of information out there, from clinical trial registries, portals, websites that can help in finding a trial that is relevant to you. Remember, clinical trials need you. Healthy volunteers such as yourselves may also choose to participate in controls, not only as a way of contributing back to the society and the advancement of scientific knowledge, but also as a gesture of kindness and compassion to the mankind. Hence why I have decided to advocate and create awareness of clinical trials, because the research we conduct today could potentially be the treatment of your tomorrow. Thank you.
Twinkle!
Hey guys, Sam Cawthorn here, CEO and founder of Speakers Institute and also Speakers Tribe. In this month's masterclass, I'm super excited about it. It's all about packaging. You know, one thing I've found is that as speakers, as entrepreneurs, as thought leaders, and as experts, as authors, we need to be in the long-term game. And also, we need to find ways how we can make money while we sleep. So in this video, I'm going to give you some real insights to what we do here to really help you go from where you are today to where you really want to be, so you're not just getting paid while you're doing the work, but you're also getting paid while you sleep. Everything from an online program all the way through to products and so on and so forth. But really the key insight here is the long-term game. So I'm going to show you exactly what we're doing currently here. So I've just recently got off stage here in front of about 4,000 people here at USANA, which is a multi-level marketing organization. Now I negotiated with the client, and my negotiation was that I will half my fee if they will allow us to sell on stage. Now my fee obviously was very expensive, so I then got to sell on stage. However, the sell wasn't necessarily like a $3,000 boot camp or anything at all like that. All it was a $100 price point. One thing I've found is what we need to do is we need to look for ways how we can get them inside our integrated product funnel. And you know, we talk a lot more about this, but basically it's about giving them something for free first, then a smaller price item, then a little bit larger, all the way up through to one-on-one, which is obviously should be your largest priced item, because obviously time equals money, and when they've got you one-on-one time, you should be charging absolute through the roof for that. So in this video here, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what I did here at this gig. So first of all, I've got two of my main pieces of product, which is my book Balance Forward, as you can see there, and also here's my latest book, which is Story Showing. So we put both of these books in together as a package, and even if someone wanted just one book, they obviously would have to buy both books in order for them. Particularly whenever you're packaging things, package it to one price, one product. Don't try and have 5 or 6 individual products, just simply have one. That way it's really easy transaction and it's easy for them to buy. However, as part of this package here, because I wanted to make it a $100 item, now if I made it $95, then we'd have to give $5 change back, and you don't really want to be doing too much changing, particularly when there's a big line of people waiting, and just then we literally sold about 400 to 500 of them within the space of about half an hour. So what we've actually got in this package as well is we've got a really cool gift card. So as you can see here, this here is our Speakers Institute access card, and in here, I'll just undo it here. In this here, we've actually got the back part of it here, which is a scratchable back where they do get a number. And here, that is their access number where they then go online, they register themselves on this $5 voucher card for our online programs. Obviously from there, then whenever we launch something, we then send them an email, or we can even send them an SMS or whatever it is, and it's a really, really great way to get people connected into your LMS, your learning management system, when you're actually giving them something. So this is a $500 voucher card here for all of our online products, which is really, really cool. Also on top of this, obviously there is a bookmark, and in this bookmark here, if you turn it around, you've actually got a really cool little scan code here for all of our current and upcoming events in every single state and territory, as well as also obviously all our contact details. But this one here is also something else which we're giving in this pack as well. So as you can see here, it's a really, really great package. They get the 2 books, they get the $500 gift card, as well as also the bookmark, as well as also their ticket to the next event, and all of that there in a package is only $100. So it's a really quick and easy sale. A lot of them are paying cash, a few of them are paying on card, and it's a really, really quick way. But one thing I really like about this package here, guys, it is all about long term. And what we mean by long term is to get them connected into the system, such as only $100, but clearly they've got a couple of my books, which is some great content there. But then when they register, and obviously everyone wants to claim a $500 voucher, we get their line, put in their reward card, and then they can start buying some online things as well. So on our Speakers Institute Access LMS, Learning Management System, we have 5 or 6 different courses there, and they're all around $295 each. So then that means then that they can buy one for $295, but then if they wanted to buy a second for $295, they'll have to then put in their credit card details for them to buy that second one. So it's a great way how anyone at all out there can package their information in a way that you can get paid while you sleep. Yes, guys, you've got to do the hard work. You've got to set up your learning management system. You also need to set up your course, your online course, whether it's a video course or video plus workbook or whatever it is. But you know something, I assume that you're intelligent enough to get the hard work done. So this is a really good way that you can sell at the back of the room for not a huge price point, but actually just that entry-level price point for you to get people just into your integrated product funnel. And so then the next thing then we can sell is our $3,000, $4,000 boot camp. Then the next thing we can sell is or obviously one-on-one with me. So guys, I really hope that this video has really added value to you guys as our tribe members, and really looking forward to seeing many of you at our Speakers Tribe Conference. If you haven't registered yet, make sure you do. speakerstribeconference.com. And always remember, the best is yet to come. See you guys soon.
My journey has been one that has seen me growing up in the UK. I'm the daughter of immigrants, and I grew up in a very violent and rough neighborhood in the UK. However, my journey has seen me traveling to Singapore and setting up many businesses in Singapore and Hong Kong. Over the years, I've managed to get a lot more clarity as to what my mission is. And what I really care about is helping women to rise. And this clarity has come because of the support network that I have surrounded myself with in terms of mentors who have helped me and coaching career. This has come to me because of my own adversities. As a serial entrepreneur, I went through quite a traumatic divorce and was a single mom of 2 very young children. And in that experience, journey, I came across a lot of other women who had me as a mother, but also as a business owner. The effects of feeling so diluted and pulled between all the people that they feel a responsibility towards can be overwhelming. And so I've created this community for women to get the support, the resources, access to mentors, the way I have had. I do wish there was this sort of community for me when I was setting up my businesses, but I'm really fortunate to have found mentors and guides through my speaking and training journey, which has led me to here, to this point. As I stand here, I have a very big, hairy, audacious goal to impact 1 million women by 2025.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode here at Speakers TV. My name is Sam Cawthorn, and we are super excited about Speakers TV and about these episodes that we bring to you every single weekday, as well as also on every single Saturday. Guys, would love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback at all for us, or maybe you want to comment right now in the chat bar about what was your biggest takeaway from today's session. But also not only that, why don't you join us? So here at Speakers Institute, we do have a number of programs such as our online boot camps or our protege program. Speakers Tribe here, we're all about running these big, large annual conferences every year, but also not only that, there is an annual membership that you can get. We're in your city, we do have tribe gatherings, all really encouraging you to go your family about Speakers TV. But can I please encourage you, why don't you like this page? Why don't you join us each day? Why don't you tell other people about these episodes? Because we are all about really helping you on this journey to becoming that join us today to your success. My name is Sam Cawthorn, and don't forget